Have any of you guys ever shot photos on film and ended up with this? So basically, before digital, we shot all our pictures and we would send them off and they would come back in little envelopes like this for each set of photos, and we'd get all these prints and a set of negatives for each photo. And that was fine. And then a lot of us amassed collections like I have here. Now here's the thing, in the past this was the way we did it. We put them into albums and we shared them with friends. Maybe you have gone through albums and you've looked at the photographs and really enjoyed them. But there's a problem. One is we've got all these photos everywhere. What's in there? What happens, in case of a fire or something bad happens, we're going to lose all these photographs. Another thing that could happen is they could deteriorate over time. And then you want to find a specific photo. How do you find it? Unless you go through mountains and mountains of albums, you can't share them on Facebook. You can't put them on social media. And then when you want to show your friends the photos, they'll sit down for about an album maybe, and then they're going to start to get bored when you've got all of these photos. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about right now is how I was able to find a solution, and I'm going to review the solution for getting all these photos into your computer. So our photographs are our memories. Let me explain. Our mind is kind of like a hard drive. There's a certain amount that we can fit into RAM, which is stuff that's front of mind that we can really focus on. Then we go into storage, which would, be in the back of our mind, where things, we still remember they're there, but we need something to jog our memory. It's there, but we've completely forgotten about it. It's like we know something, but we've forgotten we know it. And then later on, sometimes all we remember about them is what we told ourselves about them before. So we don't necessarily remember those experiences, but we remember the stories we told ourselves about those experiences. And, everything tends to get faded. But what happens is when we look at a photograph, it transports us back to that moment. And there's something that could be stored far away in your mind that you've completely forgotten about. And then suddenly you're reliving that moment. You're like, wow, I remember this. I remember I was on vacation. I remember who I was with. I was with my family members. We were at this beautiful place. I remember what I was eating. And then you can remember it again. So what it is actually a retrieval system that enables us to retrieve those memories. So these things are priceless. Now you can take millions of photos of buildings or statues. And guess what? Those buildings and those statues are probably going to still be there in years to come. However, the people that are there with you at the time, those people might have passed on or they've gotten older. Even when you look at a younger picture of yourself, sometimes it's a little cringy, particularly the clothing, but it brings back those memories. It allows you to relive those moments. I can go back to the statue or the hill at Waterloo that I was at 20 years ago. I can go back there today and I've got better equipment, better cameras. I can take better photographs of that place, but I can't take better photographs of that memory when I was there in the pouring rain there with my friend Maria. We were taking photographs and we braved our way to the top in the storm. Now, when I look at that photograph, I can remember that. Okay, so here's the thing. I've got all of these photos here in these albums, and trust me, this is a lot neater because I've actually gone through and organized these. These were just in a massive box with all kinds of other garbage, extra envelopes and postcards, and you know how it goes. You know how the boxes go. So right now I've got this stack of photographs, and I know I need to digitize these things. So I want to have a digital backup of my life. Now here's the problem. When I look at this, I just get sick to the pit of my stomach thinking about this major task in front of me. What can I do with this? And I looked at a couple of solutions. One is I've got a pretty good flatbed scanner. And so I was like, well, why don't I just scan these on the flatbed scanner? Well, these are 24s, 36s. I can put these like maybe 3 at a time and scan them. And then I can use Photoshop to do crop and straighten photos, save a little bit of time. It'll break them into individual photos. But, it's going to take a long time. So the services, I could send these. So I could box all of these up and I could ship them off. But here's the thing. What happens if these get lost? These are my memories are going to be gone forever. Or the other thing is, what about privacy? I'm going to have strangers going through all my personal photographs. I mean, if you want to do that, I would say, and you're comfortable with the risks and you don't care about other people, then go ahead. Bundle up your photos and ship them off and get them done is probably your easiest solution. So one of the companies I work with, Epson, contacted me, hey, we've got this device, it's called the Fastfoto. Are you interested in reviewing it? So here's the Epson Fastfoto FF680W. Right now I'm going to review this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what it's supposed to do, and we're going to put it through its paces, and I'm going to talk about my experience scanning these because there's 2,500 photographs here, and I already scanned them all. So I'm going to tell you about my experiences. I'm going to tell you about the pros and cons of this, and then you can decide if this is a solution you're looking for. Okay, so here's the thing. This is a portable document photo scanner. And so the promise here is I can take stacks of photos and I can load them. This can batch scan my photographs up to 1200 dpi, and it can also restore the photographs at the same time. So it can enhance them with the software, and it can save it on my hard drive or in the cloud or whatever I want. Okay, so let me give you my review on the Epson Fastfoto FF680W. First of all, I need to clear this mess up. So here it is right there. So let's talk about the specs. This can scan at 300, 600, or 1200 dpi. It can scan up to 1 photograph per second. It can also enhance the photos as you scan them. It can also scan documents, and the documents can also have OCR where it actually reads the text and turns it into a Word document. This can save your photos simultaneously to your hard drive, to Google Docs, Dropbox, so you can do cloud backup at the same time. And it also claims to be the fastest personal scanner in the world. All right, so this is pretty promising, and it comes in a very, very small footprint. So, you know what? I'm convinced, I'm sold, but the problem is, does this work as advertised? Is it as good as what I expect? So let's do a review right now, an in-depth review. As I said before, I've scanned 2,500 photographs on here, so this is not just out of the box, out of the wrapping, and let's do a review. I've used this thing. And I've got a pretty good feel of its capabilities now. All right, so first of all, we need to connect it. It comes with a USB cable. So you can plug it into, your computer, or just don't use it because it also works wirelessly. Now, here's the thing. When you first set it up, you do need the USB cable unless you've got one of those routers where you just push the button and then it will recognize it. Otherwise, you use the USB and that will connect it to the Wi-Fi. But here's the cool thing about it. I actually used it on my other computer, my Mac Pro. I used it all day yesterday. And I worked on this thing until about 8 o'clock at night, starting from about 11 in the morning. So I put some time into this. So why don't we just pop it open? So this is how it pops open like this. And in the front, slides open here. So you can pull this out for larger photos, or you can push it in here for smaller photos. Now this just kind of stops things coming all the way out, and all we need to do is feed them in here. All right, so what we have to do first of all is install the software. And installing the software actually was quite easy. You just go and you download it, and then you click the button, and it pretty much installs itself. Now make sure you choose all the options, and that includes the enhancing software and also the software that does the OCR. And so here's the software, it's the install Navi, and we can see I just finished there, and I'm gonna click on finish. Now I'm gonna put a few photos in here. Now they recommend you shouldn't really do more than 30 photos at a time. I have taken it up to 45 photos and it did work. So here's the thing, you wanna have them photo side up, and then you want them upside down so they're pointing away, and then we just simply put them in here and close. Make sure they're nicely gripped. Now there's a couple of things to make sure. One, fan those photos. Make sure the photos are not stuck together because this separates them, and we'll scan them one at a time, but they can't be stuck. Make sure the photos are clean and there's no gunk on there. However, if you did get some gunk on there, it comes with this little sheet here, and you can insert the photograph in the sheet and then scan it in the sheet. Now also use this sheet if you're working on damaged photos or very valuable photos that you want to protect. Make sure you put them in there. And make sure there's nothing like staples or things like that on there. Okay, so once you've done that, all you need to do is just hit the scan button. Then it's going to launch the Epson Fastfoto software. All right, so let's have a look at the settings in here. We're going to click on settings. And the first thing is we can give these whatever we want to call them. Right now, by default, these photos are going to go here and called Fastfoto. Then we have the options for enhancements. So we can automatically remove red eye. We can auto enhance or restore, and I'll show you what it shows on here. This is what we should get. There's the red eye. That's auto enhance. And this is restore. So you could do this in Photoshop or in Lightroom, or you can let the software do it. I noticed that the software did a really good job of restoring the color, and the contrast was actually quite difficult to get the same result in Photoshop. So I did compare this to working in Lightroom. So using the software here, I was able to get really good contrast and color, natural colors. However, in Lightroom, I was able to get almost as good contrast, maybe not quite as good, but I was able to bring out more detail in the photographs. So with some work inside of Lightroom, you can get better results, but I found the results in here good enough for most purposes. Look at the options here. We can directly adjust that scan photo, which I don't recommend, or we can allow it to create a copy of that photograph that's enhanced. So we'll see the original and the enhanced photos. We'll have both. And then if you have one you really want to go in and fine tune, you can do that yourself inside of Lightroom or Photoshop to get a better result. But for most purposes, like sharing these with friends and family and putting them on the web, the auto enhance is more than good enough. All right, so let's look at the scan settings. Scan settings here. We've got different types of photos. We can scan standard photos, instant photos such as, Polaroids, and we can also feed in panoramic photos. Now, if you want to go really fast, we can do 300 dpi, which is print resolution. If we want to make them a little bit bigger, archival scanning, we can do them at 600 ppi, which is going to be double the size of the photograph. So it's going to make it a little bit bigger, and it's going to give you a little bit more to play with if you want to go into Photoshop and do edits or enlargements and things like that. And if you really want to get crazy, you can interpolate this to 1200 dpi. Now, if you already have Photoshop, I recommend scanning these at 600. That's what I did, because 600 is giving me an enlarged version of the photograph. It's got lots of resolution. I found that the 1200 takes a little bit longer, but not a huge amount longer, but I don't need all my photos at 1200. I can just go in and resize those inside of Photoshop later as I need them. However, if you feel like you need all these photos larger, then go ahead and do it at 1200. It takes 1 second for the 300, 3 seconds for 600, and 10 seconds for 1200. When we've got the option is JPEG or TIFF. Honestly, I just go to JPEG. Remember, these are for your memories. These are for your photographs, your personal photographs. This is not what we're using, to create the highest quality museum art. So that's not the purpose of this particular scanner. This is getting through lots of photographs and getting decent quality. So you've got to set your expectations there. Okay, so let's have a look. And we can also scan the back of the photo at the same time. And this is great. That means if you've written things on the back, you've got notes, you've got memories or reminders of what the photo is, where it was. Like some people used to write in the back with a pen or a Sharpie. And some of my photos have that, the location, the date. It will also scan the front and back like really, really quickly. All right, so we've got that option, and we can also choose to, decide how dark that'll be in order to save it. So that means, if we're not just going to scan a blank back everywhere with a watermark. So we can set it where it's only going to get, things with a Sharpie or different things like that. Okay, let's look at our advanced settings. So we've got the option for auto rotation, which honestly didn't really work that well for me. Then we've got the curled photos, so it can actually work on the photos that have got the, that are curled a little bit. So what it's going to do is it's going to get a vignette around the edges because the glass plate under here that it's using for scanning, when it's curled, parts of the photo are going to be closer to that scanning head than the parts that go further away. So you can get a vignette. This is going to correct for that vignette. Then we get to reduce lines and streaks. So what's happening is this is moving through the sheet feeder as it's going through. It's moving pretty quickly. We can set the settings there to reduce any lines or streaks that could happen in there. I'll choose the upload. So this is where we can choose to upload it to Dropbox or Google Drive. Now we can go down to scanner settings, and we can change things here, like power off timer and different things like that. And then we can choose applications to scan from. So we turn that on, and basically what that is when we hit this action button here, this determines what app's going to be working. So right now I've got it set to Fastfoto, which means it's going to automatically be set up to scan photos. I click that, it's going to do photos. If I prefer to do documents, I'll change it to Epson Smart Scan. Now, Fastfoto and Smart Scan both come bundled with this. So we're going to hit close. And at this point here, I'm just going to click on Start Scanning. So now we get this option is going to pop up. And if you know the year of the photo, we can go in here, and it's actually going to organize it by year. So these photos were taken back in 95. Just doing this is appending the file name here. So it shows me 1995. So it's going to organize it by year and date. So let's just choose February. And you can see this makes it easy for me to find the photos. And the subject is UK, because I was in the United Kingdom for there. And that's what it's going to do. And it's going to use an incremental number. Now I can also create a subfolder here. If I turn that on, notice under here, it's going to create a subfolder. And I do this for every roll of film. And then that way they're all going to be organized. They're going to be easy for me to find later on and easy for me to sort inside of Lightroom or Photoshop or other applications. And if I don't want to do this each time, I can turn on Do Not Prompt and this won't pop up. Then we hit Start Scanning. And now it's going to scan. All right, so here we go. We've scanned these photos and it gives me the option to scan the next batch. So I could put more photos in there and I could click on Scan Next Batch. Or if I'm done, I'm just going to click Done Scanning. And now it's going to process it. So any of the image enhancements and all that kind of stuff is all happening right now. And you'll notice that all of these photographs here are actually showing up in there. And there's the original version with that kind of coloring. And there it is, enhanced. And you can see it's done a pretty reasonable job. You know, see how faded it is. And there we go. And now these are ready for us to share. We can, upload them to social media or share them with our friends and family. So, there's other options here. We can click on the share. We can go to Facebook. We can send them on email. We can go through all these things. And here's the thing. If you didn't edit these, we can choose to edit them now. So we can actually go in here. We can rotate it. And if we didn't hit the enhance, we can hit the enhance right now. Notice it's going to apply that enhancement to it. And let's hit the restore button. And we can see right there that we've got that done. Okay, so I scanned 2,500 photographs yesterday, and I'm just so happy to get that load off my mind. Now, here's some of the things I found when I was doing it. It worked really fast. In fact, incredibly fast. I was doing stacks. And once I got into a rhythm, I could pull them out of the sleeve, put them in here, start scanning, pull the next set out of the sleeve, the previous one, put it back in, and by then this was finished. So I got a little bit of a workflow going, and it went quite quickly. Now, as far as jams, I had it jam twice, and all I had to do is just click on here, pop it open, pull the photo out, shut that, and then go again. And a jam was usually caused because maybe two photos were stuck together or something like that would cause those. Apart from that, if you've taken care of your photos, most of the time it just went through just very, very smoothly. One thing to be aware of, make sure you've got lots of space left on your computer, because my main computer was running low on hard drive space. And one of the things I noticed is this caches and loads up into that space. Now, when you restart the computer, it will clear that cache, but that cache will build up. So if you've got, plenty of space, you really shouldn't have a problem. In my case, I was getting a little bit low, and so I had to restart my computer, clear off some space, and then I had no more problems with that. As far as the quality of the scans here are good enough. They're not perfect. These are not, what you would use for your fine art, for your commercial fine art work. These are good for your memories, for your personal photographs, and they're more than good enough for sharing on Facebook or sharing with your family, creating slideshows, all these kind of things, and just enjoying those photographs and enjoying those memories. And when I say that, they're nice, high resolution, so you could print these and they're going to be fine. Now, some of the downside of it I did find is I found some streaking in some of the images. It started to appear on the sides, some lines there. And then what happens is Epson recommends after every 300 scans, you clean this. And it comes off a little cloth here, a microfiber cloth. And what you want to do is pop this open. And if you look in here, you'll see the glass is there and there. And then we've got these rollers. And so what you want to do after, I would say more frequently than that, just give it a little wipe down, and then everything will be fine. Because otherwise what happens is it gets dust in there, and that dust is blocking part of that scanning head, and then when everything goes down, it's going to show a blank part. And then, of course, that line is going to be smeared because the paper is moving down, and as it's scanning, it's going to leave that line on the side. So if this is nice and clean, you shouldn't have too much of a problem there with lines. I still did find some, even with a clean, very faint lines, in certain types of photos, particularly dark photos on a certain type of stock. Certain types of photo paper, I found no problems. And in other types of photo paper, in the darker photos, I could see some of these faint lines. Now, these are things I could easily get rid of in Photoshop, so it's not a huge concern or a deal breaker as far as this goes. Everything I read about it, everything I saw in the box and everything, yes, this actually met and exceeded my expectations. One, the quality was as good as I was hoping for. I wasn't expecting this to scan as well as a flatbed scanner, but I was kind of worried that the scans would be, just really low quality, and they weren't. The scans were good quality, consumer grade, absolutely. So the speed and the ease of use is better than I expected. So you know what, I never would have got this task done without this manually. It would have taken me forever. I've been putting it off for years, and I got it done in one afternoon using this. That's 2,500 photos, and you saw all the rolls of film. So, if that's what you're looking for, this is definitely a great solution. But here's another question, so I'm kind of thinking, well, I've scanned all my photos now. I'm good. I don't need this anymore. But there's another thing that it can do, and that's paperless office or paperless house. Now, there used to be a joke that went around saying, a paperless office is about as likely as a paperless bathroom. But here's the thing. I can do it in here. I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to take a notice that I got here, and I found something that was not personally identifiable. But I would do this I could do this with my bills and different things like that. Pop it open. What you want to do is just close it down there. Now, if you set up the software to do a document, you can click on that button. Let me make this nice and big. Give it room. And then what happens here is I can go under these settings, and I can set this to be the default once again, so I can just push that button if I want to use it as a document scanner. And these are all the different things I can do with it. I can just save it. I can attach it to an email. So if I need to email something to someone, modern faxing, or I can, I can save it in the cloud, Evernote, Dropbox, Google Drive. I can print it, or I can save it to Word and Excel. Now, here's the interesting thing about going to Word and Excel. It uses OCR. Boom. Done. That is viciously fast. Okay, but there's a lot of type on here. Look at this fine print, all this stuff. Let's have a look and see how this came out. Well, here it is there. Well, for one, I put it upside down, so why don't we just rotate it around? And you know what? That doesn't look too bad. Let me make this a little bigger. Wow, look at that. That's clear. And we look at the second one. Let's flip that around. All right, so there's what we scanned. Looking pretty good. So let me click next. And what I want to do is I want to save this to Word. Now it's analyzing it. And I'm going to hit save. And check this out. So everything is scanned in here, but look at this. I can select this. This is real text. This is editable text. Now, I see a few little errors in here, but it's not bad. All this stuff looks really good. And it even has the links, and we can click on those links and go through there, and it scans the images and drops those in. So I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited about that. So you saw how quickly it could scan those documents. So now you can take all your bills and all those kinds of things, all your documents, and just scan them quickly. The ones you don't need, you can just shred them and get rid of that mountain of paperwork that you've had stacked up. So not only can we now archive all our photos, we can also archive all our documents. And for someone that's downsizing, this is great. So, I can just clear up all this clutter just by using this device. So the only thing is, this is a little bit pricey. It comes in at $530. But when I think about, the peace of mind that that's bringing me, I would have easily paid someone that money to have scanned all those photographs for me. And not only that, I can use it on an ongoing basis of scanning photos, postcards, all those things. And I can also use it for all my documents. So I can actually finally clean up that mess in my office and get rid of all that paperwork. You've got no idea how excited I am about that. And that'll be a project for another day. It'll probably take me a day to scan all my documents and then shred them. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's my review of the Epson Fastfoto. I'm really happy with it. Now, if you have a lot of photos and documents and things that you want to organize, I highly recommend this as a great solution. It's easy to use and super fast. And, and if all you're doing is shooting digital photos and you don't have, all these prints, then, check out my other tutorials on Photoshop on Lightroom, and I'll show you how to make those photos better. And if you like these kind of more conversational style reviews, hit the subscribe button. I also do Photoshop and Lightroom tutorials at least once a week. So hit that notification bell, and then you'll know whenever I upload a new video. And anyway, if you like this, smash that like button into dust, tell your friends about this, and drop a comment. Let me know, what do you guys think? Is this the solution you've been waiting for, or do you have a better solution? Let us know in the comments underneath. I'd love to hear from you. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, I'll see you at the cafe. And, I'm even thinking about putting all my negatives into a safe box, numbering them all, of course, and just giving away the prints. I'll be honest, I'll probably hoard them, but I want to make it sound like I'm really well organized.